And we are locked and loaded onto some instant analysis live here on In My Own Words, the podcast. Stephen Smith of Touchdown Alabama magazine. Crimson Tide fans much calmer now than what they were during the halftime break over the weekend as Alabama took on the Citadel. Nick Saban and company earning the 50-17 win, but at halftime the score was tied at 10. And though some Tide fans took comfort in, took calmness in Nick Saban, the master of second-half adjustments, others took their calmness in the form of my man, Mr. Jack Daniels, and his fine compadre, Miss Vodka. But however you found your fix, however you found the best way for you to calm down, and understanding that Alabama was going to be A-OK after making those adjustments, Crimson Tide improves to 11-0 on the year. But in a matchup where you had a light scare, one really cool moment, a few milestone moments, a couple of injuries, that great second-half adjustment, but most importantly, the win for the Crimson Tide, the Bulldogs of the FCS division unarguably gave Alabama its biggest push, its biggest challenge of the season, and not many had that written down. You had a bunch of fans at halftime going, whoa now, whoa baby, hold on. This is supposed to be Cupcake Week. This is supposed to be Domination Week and let the good times roll. The Citadel is just supposed to be happy to be here. We're not supposed to fight for real. But give the Bulldogs credit. Nick Saban talked about it. Aggressive, tough, knew what they wanted to do. And for Nick Saban, he was very concerned all week in practice when you talk about defending the option, because everybody has to be in their spot, everybody has to be in their gap, everybody has to read your cue, and when you don't read your cues, and if you are caught out of place, that option hits you quick. And there were a couple of times where Savion Smith was caught out of position, a couple of linebackers were in the wrong spot, a couple of defensive linemen were in the wrong spot, and the Bulldogs were able to rip off 3 and 4 and 5 yard gains. There was a moment in the first quarter that they had 3 and 4 and 5 first downs. So Alabama at the half able to dial up an adjustment, get things squared away. Crimson Tide much better showing in the second half, getting the win. But just looking at the one cool moment that took place, backup quarterback Jalen Hurts played in the second half, the fourth quarter of the matchup, and what was so awesome was not many people had him penciled down to play just due to him returning from the ankle surgery, him not playing the last 2 weeks against LSU and Mississippi State, his leg heavily wrapped like a toilet paper mommy, did not do much in practice. I remember toward the end of practice this week, he went to quarterbacks coach Dan Enos and said, look, coach, just let me do something. Just let me get in part of some individual drill so that I can test where I am physically, so that I can test where I am in terms of wanting to get back on the field. And I was reading an article where it had talked about, Jalen Hurts mailing it in for the rest of the season. Too hurt to play, just gonna mail it in, not play the rest of the season. And looking at that article, I was just like, there's no way that's gonna happen, because if you know the toughness and the competitor that Jalen is, Texas kids don't quit. Texas kids fight to the end of them. It's in their nature. You come from the state of Friday Night Lights. You just don't lay down. And when you look at Tony Brown, as misunderstood as he was, we gave him the nickname Crazy Tony, but as misunderstood as Tony Brown was from Beaumont, Texas, Tony Brown fought to the end, man. Fought to the end. Yes, he did some things that Nick Saban did not condone. Yes, he and Nick Saban did not see eye to eye on a lot of things, but Saban fought with Tony Brown. Saban fought for Tony Brown. And at the end of the day, Brown's senior year, 2017, he made a huge contribution and helping Alabama get to the national championship game and winning that game against Georgia. He had an interception in that game off Bulldogs quarterback Jake Fromm. You look at Deontay Thompson from Orange, Texas, who's been fighting a legal case that's been going on 2 years now. And I've heard, well, almost 2 years now, and I've heard from a couple of sources that the legal staff is just waiting for the whole thing to be dropped because the prosecution has no story, the prosecution has no video, there's no evidence. The reason why the case is being drug out the way it is they know if they drop the case right now, it makes them look bad, and they could have a potential lawsuit coming at them from Thompson's family. So Deontay Thompson fighting to the end, Tony Brown fought to the end. Texas kids don't quit. And when you look at Jalen Hurts, he just embodies that. He does not quit. When he came out on the field in the 5th game of the season against Louisiana, he showed it's about team. It's not about me. I can go, take the red shirt, go anywhere else and ball out, but I want to finish what I started. And when he did that, you knew at some point down the road, this fan base would give him the ovation he greatly deserves. And the moment that man took the field against the Citadel, it was a loud Jalen. I mean, booming. All young, black, white, students, non-students, folks cheering this man's name when he touched the field because they know how important he is to this program, how important he is to the fan base, and they understand how important this team is to him. And he came out there, leg heavily wrapped and all, did a fine job. Threw a touchdown pass to Devontae Smith. You saw him able to roll out the pocket and hit Jalen Waddle, hit Henry Ruggs on a couple of pass plays. I mean, even though you see he's not at 100% just yet, the effort, the sheer effort, I want to be out there. I got to be out there. This is for my brothers. This is for a fan base. Jalen Hurts. That was just a really, really cool moment. It's going to give him confidence as he continues to get better and get back to being at 100%. Getting into now a couple of these milestone moments. Tua Tagovailoa. That guy was okay. Tua was okay. Practiced all week. The leg looked good. The knee looked good. He was able to maneuver, spin, throw the football, do what he had to do. And in this game, he returned to being the 300-yard passer that we know he can be. He returned to completing over 70% of his throws. Tagovailoa, 18 for 22 passing. That's 81.8%. For 340 yards, tossed 3 touchdowns. He entered the game with 28 scoring tosses after the game. Move out the way, A.J. McCarron. There's a new king in town in terms of single-season touchdown passes, and that's the throwing Samoan, the powerful Polynesian, Tua. 31 touchdown passes in a single season. He has surpassed A.J. McCarron. He had 4 total touchdowns against the Citadel, which puts him at 35 touchdowns responsible for. He has tied the great Blake Sims from 2014 for second all-time. He is 1 shy of tying Jalen Hurts. He is 2 shy of taking the full lead for a single season in total touchdowns responsible for. So kudos to Tua. Practiced well all week, and despite the fact that I thought Nick Saban probably should sit him, a lot of people thought that Saban should probably sit him, but Saban knows far more than what we know. And Nick played the young man. He went out there, did a fantastic job. So shouts out to Double T in the morning, one of the few milestone moments over the weekend. Another milestone moment came from Jerry Juke Move. Mama, there goes my ankles, Judy. Jerry Judy joining the 1,000-yard club with Amari Cooper, Calvin Ridley, and Julio Jones. Jerry Judy in the game, 6 catches for 77 yards. He entered the matchup leading Alabama in receiving with 45 catches for 925 receiving yards and 10 touchdowns. He ended the matchup with 51 catches, or having not 51 catches, for 1,002 yards and those 10 touchdowns. So Jeudy right now, new member, 4th wide receiver of the Nick Saban era to hit the 1,000-yard club. He is now 6th all-time for most receiving yards in a single season. He has surpassed the freshman mark of Julio Jones, the freshman mark of Amari Cooper. He has passed the mark that Calvin Ridley had last season at 967 yards. He even passed the 1993 mark of David Deuce Palmer, who also had 1,000 yards. So Jerry Jeudy 6th all-time in that regard as of right now. Kudos to that young man. And as far as career milestones, you gotta look at Anthony Jennings, the talented redshirt junior at outside linebacker. 11 total tackles over the weekend that led the team. A career high for him, a season high for him. He also recorded his first career defensive touchdown, an 18-yard scoop, and scored to the house off a fumble recovery. Tide fans went crazy after that happened. Huge moment there for Anthony Jennings. So we got the cool moment from Jalen Hurts. We got the milestone moments from Jerry Jeudy, Tua Tagovailoa, and Anthony Jennings. Alabama also sustained a couple of injuries in the matchup, but nothing too severe. Deontay Thompson, a bruised knee. He is okay. You had Alex Leatherwood, offensive lineman, that tweaked an ankle. He's fine, sprained ankle. He'll be okay, according to Saban. And despite Damian Harris sustaining a mild concussion, he'll go through the protocol this week, but nothing too serious. He was able to get up, jog off the field to the joy of Tide fans. So good news all the way around. Tide players okay. Alabama getting the win over the Citadel as it eyes the Auburn Tigers this upcoming week in the annual Iron Bowl matchup. Taking our first break here on In My Own Words, the podcast. When we come back, we look at Quinnen Williams and how he has transformed himself from underrated contributor to a potential top 5 pick for next year's draft. Wanted to get into him early on in last week's edition of shows. A lot of stuff happened, so we'll touch up on Quinnen Williams this week. Don't go anywhere, folks. We'll be right back to In My Own Words.